In the last video, you learned about why we feel emotions and how they tend to affect our everyday lives. This video, however, focuses on those in our population who don't experience emotions in the same way as the majority. Some even seem to feel no emotion at all. These conditions are referred to as sociopathy and psychopathy, respectively. Before we look at why these select few act differently, it's important to recognize the difference between the two. Sociopaths usually live on the outskirts of society and seem introverted and unsociable to others. They suffer from disorganization, which can sometimes be extreme. They are often nervous or paranoid and prone to outbursts of rage or emotion. In some cases, these outbreaks can be violent. Because of this, it is often difficult for them to hold steady jobs. This being said, it is common for sociopaths to form bonds and attachments to people or objects. Interestingly, there is no true neurologic explanation for their erratic behavior, but in almost all cases, sociopaths suffered some form of trauma at a young age, often some form of abuse. Can you think of an example of a sociopath from TV, film, or literature? Psychopaths, on the other hand, live easily within society. Some studies have even shown that sometimes the most cutthroat executives in the finance and business world have mild to moderate psychopathic tendencies. Unlike sociopaths, psychopaths are highly organized and meticulous. Many psychopaths have taught themselves to mimic human emotion, even though they lack the ability to actually feel empathy. The inability for psychopaths to feel emotions of empathy or pain is thought to be due to an underdevelopment of the brain in the limbic system, which you'll recall is responsible for the link between emotional stimuli and reactions. In one study, brain scans of prisoners when exposed to feelings of their own pain showed the appropriate reaction, but when shown images of another in pain, lacked any response at all, and in extreme cases, seeing the pain of others prompted responses in the pleasure centers of the brain. This suggests that the subject enjoyed seeing another in pain. Can you think of an example of a psychopath from TV, film, or literature? Despite their differences, both psychopaths and sociopaths have a few characteristics in common. They both experience behaviors such as disregard for laws, social mores, and rights of others. They also lack remorse and can be prone to violent behaviors. There are a few particularly notable cases of psycho or sociopathia that did not include any body counts or public shootings. In fact, a 2014 article put out by the Harvard Business Review released an article titled, "Is Your Boss a Psychopath?" Now the answer is probably not, at least in the way we think of it. The article went on to discuss that many high-ranking business officials have a lack of empathy that has allowed them to move to the top. This does not mean that they are full-blown psychopaths, but a few may have a mild form of psychopathy known as seductive operational bully. This means exactly what it sounds like. People who fall into this category are very charming and also very deceitful and cutthroat. So why are some psychopaths killers and others successful businessmen? It stems from the brain. The severity of psychopathy can often be attributed to the amount of underdevelopment in the brain. As previously mentioned, the underdevelopment in psychopaths is located in and around the amygdala and frontal lobe, as well as occasionally being due to damage sustained in these same areas. If psychopathic tendencies emerge only after damage to the area was sustained, the behavior is called pseudopsychopathy, literally false psychopath. One famous case of this odd occurrence was when a man named Phineas Gage was gravely injured by an iron bar passing through his skull. After this extensive trauma to his frontal lobe and orbitofrontal cortex, Phineas began to develop a disregard for others and a general lack of empathy consistent with those of a psychopath and sociopathy. Phineas's case has also led to great debate as to whether his conditions should in fact be classified as psychopathy. After all, he was not born with these qualities. Naysayers argue that his condition should be sociopathy because it was acquired due to a traumatic event. After all you've learned about psychopathy and sociopathy, what merits do both sides of the argument have? Now that you've acquired all of this information, it's important that you realize one last thing. Not all people with these disorders are serial killers, mass shooters, or even violent. In fact, many of you have probably walked past several psychopaths and sociopaths in your everyday life without even realizing it. Just like anything else, it is when things are taken to the extreme that they often become jaded. Not every psychopath is William Gacy, and not every sociopath is Jeffrey Dahmer. Some of them could be confused for you or me.